Well, I don't think PMQs would even know anything that's going on. It's typical of them. I mean, they shut themselves over there inside the building. What we need to do is get this point across that Starmer is trying to restrict our freedoms. I mean, he designates me as a far-right fascist Nazi, and I'm not. I'm a Thatcherite, and all I care about is the major, and he calls them populist issues. If they're populist, that means people care about them, the majority care about them. So I'm very worried about it, and I warned about this for the last 15 years. When you get a Labour government, this would happen. Starmer is the most divisive Prime Minister that's ever been. He's making accusations against people totally unfounded, who people are really angry what's going on. We want a small state. We want our country back. We want our borders controlled. We want our taxes lower. Look what's happening with the fuel allowance this there for pensioners. You know, I happen to be 70. Yes, I can afford. I don't need it. It won't hurt me. But there must be a way to actually get this through without actually hurting the majority of pensioners. So to cut a long story short, what you're asking a question, I'm proud to be here. I'd like to be a bit more vocal here about actually keeping our freedoms and freedom of speech, but I'll back them to the hilt. Well, Reform, as you know, even though there's only 5 MPs over there, we were second in 98 seats across the country, got 4 million votes. You know, way more than Lib Dems, but they got 71 MPs. And our system's completely wrong. They will be representing 4.1 million people beautifully over there, and because we've got the great Nigel Farage in charge, we're going to get a lot of media attention, bless him. And of course, he's on various programmes. He's on GB News just down the road here. And yeah, I think they make a good impression. I'm obviously focusing on Fairfield UK, which is my biggest thing at the moment, because in just under 7 weeks' time, what we're going to get is a massive hike in fuel duty from this. And I've seen just down the road here from the Treasury, I've just seen emails, private emails, say it's going to be 10 pence. That's £5.50 per average family car. But you imagine if you're running 50 trucks in a fleet, it's going to cost you tens of thousands of pounds, which means you can't employ people or even buy cleaner kit. So these are the sorts of things I'm getting involved with now. But associated with that is also the fact that there's so many anti-motorist, anti-driver policies going to hit us, and that's restricting our freedom, which is all linked to what's happening today. Well, it's interesting. Don't forget they've got a massive majority, so a vote of no confidence is unlikely from his own people. The only way you can do is actually a vote of no confidence for his Labour constituency, which may happen. But yeah, I've actually put a £50 bet that it won't last 3 years. Yes, we would definitely secure more seats. I reckon we'll get over 100 seats, but we won't be the government. But we've got to be the true opposition. We are, in terms of the people's opposition, definitely, even with 5 MPs. You just look at all of the policies, you know, cutting taxes, you know, turn back the boats, protect our borders, all these sorts of things. We are definitely popular. But I'm afraid I'm unlikely to be the government in 2029. But I may be wrong. I hope I am wrong. And I will be standing down in Dover Deal again. Yeah, but it's got to be the right sort of proportional representation. There's a lot of proportional representation. I mean, there's only 2 countries, I think, in the world that actually have first past the post. I think the other one is a dictator state. But yeah, we've got to have some sort of proportional representation, because those 4.1 million who voted Reform have only got 5 MPs. There should be some sort of, you know, cut-off point, say up to 5% or something like that, whereby, you know, anything above 5% must be represented, and that's what I think could happen. And I'm hoping Reform over there, the gang over there with Richard Tice as well, will actually sort of put something across the green benches and say, let's look at how people can represent it, because let's face it, 2/3 of people didn't vote for Starmer. Obviously that's a long way off, and I mean, I'll be fighting Khan tooth and nail. I mean, I didn't do so well in there. I got about 3.3% or something, and it was, which was, we got an assembly member in Alex Wilson. I'm delighted. I thought we'd get 2 or 3. I knew I wouldn't win, but I thought we'd get more assembly members. I don't know if I'm going to stand. I'm 70 years old, so we're looking at, I'm 74 or 75 when this happens again. I probably will stand for an MP in Dover and Deal, though, because I want to get over there, because I think that's where the real power lies. I think it's already happened. I mean, we're looking at 10 weeks they've been in, or something like this, and you can see the unrest, the hatred towards him. I mean, look at David Lammy. You know, we're seeing him, you know, reducing 30% of all the military contracts for Israel. Whose side is he on? That's a democratic country. And, you know, it's been invaded by, or attacked by a terrorist group. I just think the more and more of our freedoms are being eroded, I think the more chances that there will be a general election. There's no way that these people like David Lammy, Rachel Rees, you know, Mrs. Headballs, I always call her. All those people, would you put them in charge of your household or your family? No, you wouldn't. And that's the point we're at the moment in time. And I think that the disillusionment will be entrenched soon, and who knows, maybe there will be a general election. Well, Elon Musk is a voice of opposition. Thank heavens we got him. If we didn't have GB News or Talk TV and your channel, and Elon Musk, etc., the mainstream media have completely deserted popular opinion, etc. You just look at them. Even, we're looking at the Sun. Said they want Starmer to be the Prime Minister. They put their weight behind that. And the Daily Mail, which is traditionally a right-wing thing, was so horrible to reform the UK. We're talking about reducing taxes, putting more money in people's pockets, putting our borders, but increasing our defence spending and all that sort of thing. And yet they went against it. And I write for the Sun, so they know how I feel about it. And to cut a long story short, I think the next year, and certainly around the budget, which is October the 30th, watch this space. I hope to come back and talk to you then.
2010, I set a campaign up because we're still the highest tax drivers in the world, and one of the biggest things, the theme of today, is freedom. And the biggest, I suppose, a tribute to what we can do in terms of freedom is to drive. How many people drive here? How many people got a diesel? How many got a petrol? Okay, who's got an EV? Okay, it's freedom of choice. But guess what? That lot over there, the new government, are going to try and stop this. They've already moved the 2035 ban of new diesel and petrol car sales back to 2030. I'll give Sunak for the credit, he moved it from 20 to 2035. But it was Boris Johnson who brought it back from 2040 to 2030. Now what is really frustrating for me is not only the freedom of speech and freedom of movement, is actually in 7 weeks' time we've got a budget. The first budget, and this is going to be really, I think, the cliff edge point of this administration, because I've seen credible information in the building behind me, in the Treasury, that we're going to get a 10p increase in fuel duty. What that means is for everyone with an ordinary family car, it's about £6 more to pay in the tank. But let's get this in perspective. You imagine a haulage company with about 50 trucks, does about 7 miles to the gallon. It will cost them £100,000 a year. That means they can't employ staff, they can't train staff, and get this even more, they can't buy clean kit. So this is the stupidity of that lot over there. They don't realise that putting more money in our pockets will make us freer, and we spend more money, and society gets better. It's common sense, isn't it? Yes. So from my point of view, I'd like to say thank you for coming here today. I'm frustrated as hell with what's going on at the moment. I was going to retire from Fairfield UK. We managed to stop £200 billion of tax increases in the last 15 years. But it's all going to reverse on October the 30th in the budget. It's going to be painful. Guess who said that? Starmer. It's going to be painful. Do you remember him? Anyway, I honestly think, I've got a bet of £50 with Betfred that this administration will be finished within 3 years. I hope, I've got that at the moment at 30 to 1. But I think that's going to be dropping anyway. So thank you very much. But please support fairfielduk.com. It's free. Just sign up because I'll give you the information of how to actually contact your MP to tell them to go and get stuffed. Sorry, to cut fuel duty. All right. So thank you very much for your time. Cheers.